Hey everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor and hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, and make sure you don't miss any of the content that we have coming out. Now for this video, we're gonna do our indie comics a little bit early this week, and that's due to the release of Operation Eclipse issue number 2 from Unparalleled Comics. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with this line, I did cover issue number 1. Go ahead and check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It will get you completely caught up. Now, this is written by Ray Merrick. This is illustrated by Ruli Akbar. This is colored by Avery Ferdinand. And letters is Francisco Zamora. And with issue number 1, we were really introduced to the world that Operation Eclipse exists inside of. And we were introduced to really a barrage of characters, but it was done in such a elegant way, a way that really has you understanding who each character is as you go about them. Now, if you want to buy this comic, go ahead and check out the link in my description. You can check out Operation Eclipse issue 1, 2, and as well as all their other stuff like Stellar Odyssey and so on and so forth, which is something I highly recommend that you guys read because it is absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright, so getting into issue number 2, we pick up at the St. Louis Arch. And Eclipse is just giving it to some of these bad guys. And really, they're trying to use crowbars and bats on him. And it's almost laughable to him. And so really wanting to de-escalate this very quickly, he just pulls out his sword and puts an end to it. But he learns really quick from these two that this was all a setup. A setup by a person by the name of Aperture. Aperture the photographer. You know, kind of a clever little name there if I do say so myself. Now this was all a setup so he could get photos of Eclipse fighting these guys at the St. Louis Arch. But before Eclipse is able to make it to the guy, he's already gotten in his car and he's hauled it. And so Eclipse heads back to home base, aka the bunker. And this is where he meets up with Claude and Edgar. And he gets in, it's really just a, quick debriefing, letting him know they need to look for somebody because of the photographer, because of his name Aperture and all that. Look all that information up. Goes over all of his gear and stuff like that with Claude, which is really unique because now they've created something to where they can both track and see what he's seeing. But during all of this conversation, this is when Eclipse lets us know that somebody has been following him. And this somebody's been following him for quite a few days now. And he gives a very vague description because she stays to the shadows. But it seems to be female. It seems to be somebody wearing a cape and carrying 2 swords. But that's not even all of it. And this is when he informs them about what happened in the last issue. Everything against Shiver, everything with Edge. And as they talk about it, they start to piece together that this was orchestrated. This was a setup. There was no other way to explain it. And so this is when Reynolds Mason heads out to go find out some more information. And this is where we pick up at Santiago Tower. Now we met Danny Santiago in the end of issue number 1. And with issue number 1, it told us that Danny Santiago, he was the one responsible for hiring and orchestrating the kidnap of the mayor. Everybody else just isn't informed of this yet. And he's also working with Blade Brown, who we see him sitting down with, but they're also sitting down with Tim Gates, son of Jack Gates, owner of the company Gates Incorporated, which is a huge multi-million-dollar corporation. Now, the reason Tim is here today is because he's discussing the possibility of selling his father's company once his father passes away, because right now his father is in very bad health. And so he feels like once his father passes away, this will be his best option, is to sell to him. And the whole time this conversation is going on, Blade Brown is just telling him like, no, like, don't do this, Tim. Like, this is not a good idea. But Tim, his mind is made up. He's done at this point and he just wants out. Out of all of the craziness that they've been involved with, he just wants to take his money and go. And as they leave the office, Blade Brown tells him, that Santiago is a dangerous man. But Tim just can't stand it anymore. He can't be here involved with all of these people, and he just wants to go. And while they're having this conversation, Reynolds just happens to bump into Blade Brown. Now, Blade Brown and Reynolds Mason, they were friends back in high school. They used to play basketball together. And so they have some kind of history, but they haven't been connected in quite some time. Now, we see Mason do some handshakes, and he's introduced to Tim and so on and so forth. But everybody's, kind of in a hurry to go do their own thing. So this meetup of old friends is over relatively quickly. But we see Reynolds hop on the phone and make a call to Claude, letting him know that he just saw Blade Brown and Tim Gates come out of Santiago's building. And that this definitely needs some investigation going into it. And so as they do some digging, they find out what we already know. They find out the old man, he's slowly passing away. He's on his deathbed right now. Now, the team really hasn't put together that Tim may be trying to sell the company or anything of that nature. And so Eclipse really wants to do some more digging. And so it's time to suit up. And we see Eclipse suit up and hop on his bike. And heading into St. Louis, he says it's time to see an old friend. And this is when he goes to Blade Brown's office. And Eclipse really just, he wants some information. He wants to know why they were at that office. And Brown, he kind of loses it. He's about to lose a friend, or at least he thinks he's about to, and it may be too late at this point. And this is when we see the arrival of freaking Edge. And Blade Brown, he apologizes, but these guys arrived before he did. And so it seems, maybe they didn't give him any other option. It was either this or they kill him themselves. But this time, Edge brought some different friends. And this is when we see around the room a bunch of literal freaking ninjas. Now, immediately, he takes Blade Brown out of this fight by giving him one heck of a kick. And then we see Eclipse fighting off Edge and the ninjas. Now, Eclipse is doing his best to fight off all of them at the same time. But at the end of the day, they're just too much. They're too much for him, and he falls. And before anybody is able to deal that death blow, Edge tells everybody to hold because this kill is his. Now, Edge waits a little bit, taunts him, messes with him before he kills him. And when he goes to deal that death blow, we see from the skyline, crashing through the window, the female figure that has been stalking and following after Eclipse this whole time. And immediately she starts throwing down with all of the ninjas and Edge. And as this fight is going on, we see Edge, or we hear Edge, call her Stinger. And then we see an ultimate team up of Stinger and Eclipse. And they are wasting no time dispatching, dismantling, and dismembering all of these freaking ninjas. Edge, realizing that this fight is over, that he's lost, his ninjas are done, he takes off. He hightails it out of there. And Eclipse tries to stop him, but he's not able to make it in time. And this is when he turns his attention to Blade Brown. And he starts questioning him, asking him what the heck is going on, man. Now, Stinger wants to kind of get a little aggressive with this, but he's quick to tell them everything that they want to know. And he lets them know that they were there for him. They didn't even really know that he was going to be there. That was just an added bonus for them. Because right now, everybody is under the thumb of Santiago. And Eclipse, he gives him this opportunity. He gives this opportunity of good faith to believe him. And Stinger think, that's probably a bad idea, but she goes along with it anyway. And then we take off a little bit later on top of a rooftop. And Eclipse is thanking Stinger for all of the help that she did. But has to know, why the heck have you been following me? And before he can even get a straight answer out of her, she jumps from the rooftop and takes off. And this leaves Eclipse just absolutely freaking puzzled on who the Stinger is. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Personally, I thought it was a lot of freaking fun. We saw the return of Edge, which it seems to be is going to be a reoccurring character in this line, an arch nemesis, if you will, of Eclipse. We're seeing a little bit more on how the Eclipse is operating, what kind of team he has working behind him, and we're really seeing that this villain and who he is becoming, who he is, and how dangerous of a villain he is. Because we've seen individuals like Shiver and Edge and stuff of that nature But Santiago is really coming to be like the big boss. He's the one running everything, and he's the one that says you live or die. So yeah, I think this issue was absolutely great for story building. We got to learn a lot more about the characters, who they are, what kind of personalities they have, and it's really filling out to build into a great story arc, I think. And as always from Unparalleled Comics, I absolutely adore the artwork. That stuff is top notch. It is 100% on point, and the cover art is just freaking money. It is so gold. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you have not yet, please do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and until the next breakdown.